There we go. So hi, everyone. This is Jackie from Ladybug Wellness. And this is a tea time with Ladybug. This topic that I chose for today is something that has been quietly evolving in my own practice for many years. And my topic for today, I'm calling it community assistance through compassionate intention. Before we begin, I'd like to mention that this isn't about convincing anyone to believe what I believe. I'm simply sharing what I do, why I do it, and what I've personally covered or personally observed over the years. Um, Take what resonates for you and simply leave the rest. And through anything that I teach in my classes or anything, everybody's got different perspectives, and I do promote that. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't work for you. So the reasoning for my topic today is that years ago, when I very first started with energy work, I had a lady that I'd met, and she became my mentor. I only knew her for about 6 months before she passed away, but she had a very big impact on me, and she kind of took me under her wing and taught me a lot of things, particularly dowsing. And she just had a really big impact, and I learned a lot of things from her. So yeah, she had taught me dowsing. And in practicing dowsing, I mean, I was using it. I had just gotten certified in emotion code. And so that is a modality where we're finding emotions and releasing those. And if you read that book, the way that they do it is clearing the energy, is using your governing meridian and either a magnet or your hand to clear the energy. Okay. Now, if you're working with clients constantly and doing a lot of work, that can get kind of tiring on your hands. People have different ways of muscle testing and stuff. But anyway, I had learned how to dowse, so that has been my go-to all these years. And so in learning dowsing and having something to practice on, what my mentor had offered for me to do is to work on groups or communities or community projects, in a sense. So I had a little piece of paper, and I may have that still somewhere. And what I had done was just focused intention and dowsing. And I worked on the consciousness of trees, whales, dolphins, sea life, wildlife, dogs and cats, especially those in shelters, and prisons. And the purpose wasn't to change anyone or force an outcome. It was simply to become aware of places or groups that might be carrying a heavy burden and ask, how can I contribute to something positive? The one lesson that she taught me has stayed with me ever since. She would say that nature abhors a vacuum. And so in dowsing, energy never change energy doesn't disappear. It's always there. It transmutes. Okay, that's something I've learned over the years. And there's different modalities that ask to transmute the energy, to change it somehow, to change it from negative to positive, to move energy, those kind of things, that kind of terminology. But a lot of modalities talk about releasing energy. And so if you are of the terminology using releasing energy, nature abhors a vacuum. And so if we're asking to release something, we're leaving a space, right? And we need to fill that. So my go-to has been, we'll fill it with Christed light, ladybug light, rainbows, grace, peace, unconditional healing, love, life force energy, Holy Spirit, aligned with higher self, higher purpose, and fifth dimensional energies. That has been kind of my go-to thing that I've said over the years. I've kind of added to that a little bit too. But the thing is to put in some positive energy. Peace, love, harmony, joy, Christed light, rainbow light, whatever resonates with your own beliefs. And you'll notice in there that I also said Holy Spirit. My beliefs, I believe in the Holy Spirit. You may have a higher self or a higher power, whether you call it creator or source or God, whatever resonates for you, just take my wording and translate it into your own. That all works. And whatever qualities resonate with your own beliefs. She also taught us, and this has been something interesting to me all along too. She also taught us that when working with very dense emotional environments, such as a prison, because pretty much everybody in there is because of some major trauma, and that's how it's come out, and they've acted out and ended up suffering the consequences of being in a prison. Such as prisons where people have had experienced major traumas, difficult life circumstances. So in those cases, you notice that I used Christed light as something that we put in for the energy. And that is through a lot of different modalities. It's just a higher form of vibration, of light, light healing, those kind of things. So using Christed light. But in the cases of these dense emotional areas, we use refracted light. And the idea there is it's like sunlight coming through a crystal and bringing light into places where they feel very dark. And whether you see that symbolically, spiritually, or energetically, I've always found it to be a very beautiful image. As I continued learning over the years, I started experimenting on my own. I discovered that I could simply open a map. And so Google Maps, that's a great thing that we have these days. You can pull up, a paper map, anything, and have an area that is a focus. So you can have Google Maps, a road atlas, any map. The map simply becomes my point of focus. Much like someone might hold a photograph. I'm really tongue-tied now. Much like someone might hold a photograph while praying for a loved one. The map helps me direct my attention. So I began holding compassionate intention for different locations. Now, I'm going to share something here that I have shared in some of my dowsing groups. Because if anybody knows me, I've had some issues. Yes, and in Prince George, where I live right now, we have also had some community issues. Okay, and so there was a certain area here in Prince George where it was an encampment situation and a high density of homeless people. And they have a lot of stuff going on. And when you have a high density like that of a problem, I don't really like calling it a problem, but in some ways it is, that can be a detrimental effect on society at large. Okay, so a few years ago, I know I did something. I can't prove it to anyone else. And, people who are not in the energy healing and dowsing communities will probably poop-haw whatever I did or whatever I say I did, because there was a lot of other things that was going on. So anyway, there's actually two different encampment situations. And I worked on those locations. What I did was I pulled up the Google Maps. The one place I knew where it was because, I have taken some, clothing and some leftovers and baking and stuff down to these people and shared it with them a few times. And so I knew where the one location was. I didn't know where the other one was. And apparently that one was a lot worse. So the first one, it was a park downtown, and this park had been overtaken, and there had been a lot of issues going on there. Can probably look that up in the news, but we'll just leave it at that. Um, anyway, I pulled up on a map, and this area on this map, that address, I am going to target or focus on the people in this area. And um, within about 3 months, that area was all cleaned up, boarded up, and people moved on. I don't know if I did anything, but anyway, I had observed significant changes in both of these areas. One took about 3 months, the other one took about 18 months, and there's still some stuff going on at the bigger one. But for the most part, those things have been cleaned up. Can I prove that I'd done any of those changes? No, I can't. But I did observe changes. And so there's many people, organizations, outreach workers, volunteers, police, city staff, community members undoubtedly had contributed. I simply know that what I offered when I knew how to offer, from a distance and energetically. I observed the change, the positive change afterwards, and that encouraged me to continue exploring. Interestingly, when I had a difficult situation right beside my own home, um, I own my home. I've owned it for 20 years, and we've got a residential neighborhood here. Never really had any problems until 2016, when the rental place on this side of me, behind me, or on that side, just the way I'm facing, that one for 2 years, they didn't vet out their tenant. And if you know anything about tenancy laws, once somebody is in, it's really hard to get them out, no matter what they're doing. So it took a lot of complaints to the city, a lot of stuff going on, and some legal processes to get that one sort of cleaned up. And then more recently, 2024 to June 2024 till November of 2025, so just fairly recently. And that is on my website that you can go look up a little story about that one. But I had these situations on either side of me, and I did everything that I knew how to do to try and clean up these areas, and work on the situation, work on the property, anything that I knew how to do. And it took 2 years, pretty much 2 years, for each of those ones to clear up, and they were right beside me. So I don't have an explanation for that. Maybe I was too close to it. Maybe there was life lessons for me in it. I don't have an explanation for that, but it did take a while, and yet I did whatever I knew how to do energetically to help those situations. And there's things that I've learned through that. When you have something in your outer world that is so close to you, quite often there is something going on inside of you that is creating that perspective and that reality. And so the biggest lesson that I've learned through those experiences is boundaries. I had to learn to speak up for myself, and I've learned that compassion has boundaries, because as much as I'd like to be nice to people, if they're not being nice and they're not taking responsibility for their actions, and they're causing a detriment to our neighborhood, to me, to our society, then you need to take action on some things. So I ended up being the neighborhood spokesperson and getting a hold of putting in complaints properly to the city council and to the police and the bylaw and everything. And eventually, the landlords did take responsibility, and they had to go through a legal process to move these people along that were causing so many problems. So what else we got here? They took a long time to resolve, and it also reminds me to stay humble. Very much. Life is complex, and I don't pretend to exactly understand how these things work. So one of the biggest lessons life has taught me is this: compassion has boundaries. Yep. Compassion does not mean rescuing everyone. Compassion does not mean controlling people. Compassion does not mean deciding what is best for someone else. And compassion also doesn't mean violating someone's free will because we think we're helping. That's a huge one. Those same boundaries guide how I approach community assistance. I don't try to change people. I don't try to force outcomes. Instead, I try to simply offer compassionate intention while respecting that every soul has its own journey. And that is a big thing that I had to learn with those situations being so close to me, because quite honestly, I am human. And when those situations were disturbing my sleep for quite a while, I got to be kind of cranky. And I blew up a few times. It wasn't pretty. Um, yeah, stories in the website. You can look at that. Anyway, this has brought me to things that I have learned through the years now. What I've learned from Amy Jo Ellis, Court of Atonement, which most of you know who that is. And if not, I will mention Amy Jo Ellis, Court of Atonement, quite a bit because I use that for everything. Raymond Grace is also one of my mentors. That is a good one to look up as well. He's got lots of videos on YouTube. So yeah, these are some things here. So Amy Jo talks about parameters. When we're working with our higher selves, with the soul level, your spirit guides, or whoever you rely on, God, your higher powers. When we're calling in these divine specialists, another word for them, they need parameters, because you can say help. Well, what do you need help with? Okay, you need to have a parameter, and that's the idea with what I pull up on a map. And this area right here, this area here, that's a parameter. And I want to work on the people and the location and the property and everything here. And so yeah, that's a parameter. We can also calling them loving boundaries. And if we ask our spiritual helpers, guides, angels, or however you understand divine assistance to simply go help, that's a very broad request. Help whom? How? Within what limits? So before I begin, I like to establish my parameters. May everything be done for the highest good of all. May free will always be respected. May divine wisdom guide every aspect of this work. May divine justice prevail where appropriate. May no harm come to anyone. May only those willing and able to receive benefit receive it. May whatever unfolds be in divine timing. That's another lesson. And may I release my attachment to the outcome. That's another thing that if anybody knows here, I was the one that launched Amy Jo to the world. And Court of Atonement, that's all in my website as well. So just a little aside here, when I first found Court of Atonement, it was posted in one of my groups, and I literally was doing a little Facebook scroll, and I saw this, and I thought, oh, Court of Atonement. That looks interesting. So I downloaded her little $5 book, and I read through it, and well, whatever. I did not have any attachment to the outcome. I didn't really know what it was at the time. And then things started changing. And that is the key to anything with energy work. You need to not be attached to the outcome, because if you have some attachment, you're actually putting limits on it. And there's lots of things that say we don't get a choice in telling God how to do his work. And so when we leave that space open with not having an attachment, or you don't want to have an attachment because you put limits, and you don't want to limit what can be the space of miracles. If you just put it out there, you do your thing, you set an intention and just let it go. There are this has been coming up a little bit lately, and I've explained it to clients. So there's a modality called matrix energetics, and it was Dr. Richard Bartlett, who unfortunately passed away last year. I never trained with him personally. I did read his books, I watched some videos, and my trainer that I had for when I took all my Reiki levels, and I took several classes with her years ago, she had actually trained with Dr. Bartlett. And so the idea with matrix energetics is to be in the space of laughter, because that's a very high vibration. And then they call it a 2-point. You kind of get one little spot and you get another little spot, and you drop into your heart space and let things go. And they call that space of miracles. And so you can kind of translate that into integrated into other energy modalities that you need to allow for that space of miracles for things to happen. Yeah. So I released the attachment there, and I did that. Okay. So once you got your parameters, those parameters keep me grounded. They remind me that I am not in charge, and I am just simply participating. There are many places that we can include in community assistance: hospitals, schools, shelters, neighborhoods, highways, roadways, dangerous intersections, community gathering places, courthouses with intentions for divine justice, fairness, wisdom, and truth, community representatives with intentions for integrity, discernment, cooperation, compassion, and decisions that truly serve the greater good, and places where grief has settled. Cemeteries, locations where accidents have occurred. So Amy Jo has if you get on her email list, she's got a tip of the day. She's also got classes. She's got books. Go into courtofatonement.ca or .com. Sorry, I'm .ca. She's in US, so she's .com. She has tips of the day, and she's got several stories that she's shared about intersections and accidents. And so in Court of Atonement, we have what's called speed calls. So the very basic Court of Atonement is I'm presenting. So it's a spiritual court idea. And so I, Jackie Ryu, place this person, this situation, this intersection, in this case, into a full Court of Atonement. And the speed call would be location security. These are little phrases that you place within the Court of Atonement, and it clears several levels of energy clearing. So location security, whenever I go on a road trip, I have a personal little peeve thing about on the highways. There's a lot of times there's crosses and stuff, and they bother me. So when I'm on highways and I see one of those, instead of getting all tangled up in it like I sometimes do, I'll place that area into a full Court of Atonement for the purpose of location security, and drive on. And I have done something, maybe cleaned up, whatever the accident was, or energetically, because once you have an accident in one place, you're more likely to have it again. It's kind of a muscle memory kind of thing, an attractant energy, that once you have something happen once, it'll happen again, kind of thing, until you clear up the energy. Okay, so my intention is simply for greater peace, harmony, safety, and protection for everyone using those spaces. If there has been a loss of life, I might also hold the intention that any souls needing assistance receive whatever help is appropriate according to divine wisdom, while families and loved ones received comfort and peace. I'll throw in here that I have got a grief page in my website. I just had a random email a few months ago from someone, I don't know who it was, but she just reached out to me to let me know that she found my grief page, and it was, in her words, one of the best resources that she has found to navigate through loss and grief. So I'll put that out there. There is a grief page in my website. You can use those techniques and those resources to deal with some areas of grief. Again, I'm not complaining, I'm not complaining. I'm not claiming I know exactly how any of this works. I am simply choosing compassion instead of helplessness. One thing that is especially close to my heart is remembering that the people we often struggle to understand are still human beings. There are some people that can downright frustrate us, but we don't have any knowledge or control over someone else's journey, someone else's soul path. And we're all here to learn to get along. And, some people just don't take that accountability. And so maybe our boundaries are to work on ourselves and take ourselves out of that situation. But these human beings, some people experience homelessness. Some people are living with addiction. People who have experienced deep trauma, neglect, abandonment, mental illness, poverty, grief, or simply life circumstances that most of us hope we'll never face. Every one of us has only a few difficult life events away from needing compassion ourselves. They're someone's child, they're someone's parent, someone's friend, or someone who deserves dignity. And yeah, that's been a lesson through my life as well. There's been some people that have really grated on me. And over time, I've either had to learn to put up that boundary and not be there, maybe learn the lesson and move on, or something is resolved. You never know what miracles might be. So today I am going to show you how I personally approach community assistance. I'll be using a combination of the techniques that have become part of my own practice for over the years. Some are Court of Atonements. Some are dowsing techniques I learned through Raymond Grace and other teachers. Some are intuitive guidance. And some are simply compassionate intention. There isn't one right way. These are simply the tools that resonate with me, and whether you believe intention changes the world or simply changes the person holding it, I believe there is value in choosing compassion over criticism, hope over helplessness, and positive action over doing nothing. So, the takeaways from here, my philosophy is the big one. This isn't about changing other people, because we can't change other people. We can only change ourselves. That's a huge life lesson if you haven't learned that one yet. It's about asking ourselves, within healthy boundaries, what positive contribution can I make? Compassion has boundaries. One of the biggest lessons life has taught me, that compassion has boundaries, and we'll come back to that because it applies to energy work. That's what we've talked about through this whole presentation here. The map analogy, the map simply becomes a point of focus. There is no different than someone holding a photograph while praying for a loved one. And in saying that, I hope that, if you're not a dowser or you're not familiar with energy healing modalities or energy balancing, that you can still send a positive intention. This area right here on this map, I'm sending my prayers, my positive intentions, or whatever to that area, and then let it go and, come back to it in a while and see if something changed. quite likely some energy shifts somewhere all the time. So, yeah, back to the parameters, loving boundaries, highest good, free will, divine wisdom, divine justice, no harm, only those willing and able, divine timing, release attachment, and then the final thing is I'm not trying to control the outcome. I'm simply participating in trying to shift the energies. And yeah. Make sure that I got everything that I was going to say. And lastly, maybe we can shift reality, even just in our own world. Maybe we can shift something. Maybe it's in ourselves. Maybe it's in our community. Maybe it's something simply the way we choose to respond. Whatever the outcome, I'd rather spend my time offering compassion than contributing to more fear or criticism. And that feels like the heart of everything we've built. So from there, yeah, maybe I will stop the recording here, just to pause it. So now I am going to, where do we go here? New window. And we'll pull up the map. And then, oh, there we go. Share screen. Okay. This one here. Share. This is where I live. And if you zoom out, where are we here? Quinton Avenue. Here, that's me. And if you see Honeybee Inspiration comes up, that's my daughter. Yeah, there we go. Honeybee Inspirations. And yeah, I'm on Google Maps too, but it shows hers instead on our address. So these areas, we go downtown here. This is where some of the interesting activities goes on. And so that's what I had done is I pulled up a map and I focused on an area. And so you can see there's churches show up on here, and there's elementary schools and another church, and there's sports places. These and where we got over here, where to go? Pine Center Mall, we got that one there. And then we've got the college over here. And so we've got somewhere right around in here. Oh, there we go. So this here is a great big venue. That's the CN Center, right? Oh, hang on a second. I'm on the wrong spot. Okay. This over here is the CN Center. There is a huge area. It's our venue for events coming to town. There's Exhibition Park. There's logger games. There's just all sorts of things going on in this area. And so that's a high density place where there's a lot of people. And I'll tell you another little crazy thing about me. I'm going to get out of here. Okay. So that's looking at a map, and you can choose an area to focus on. I happen to like rock music, and I like concerts. And anytime that I've gone to rock concerts, because, there's the tagline with rock concerts is sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I'm not really into that part of the rock and roll. I like music though. And so yeah, you can get tabloids on concerts and rock stars and stuff like that. Whenever I go to a concert, when I'm in there, I do a little prayer intention or a court of atonement. I just place everybody in this building into a court of atonement for the purpose of soul recognition, for the purpose of having a good time tonight, and that just raise the vibration. And the times that I've done that, I remember years ago, actually with this mentor, a couple of us, we had gone to this concert. It was he's not rock. Uh, he's been in town a couple of times, and my mind is just going completely blank. But he's a singer, and one of his songs is "I'm Going to Change the World." Gotta love it when my brain just goes sidetrack. My train of thought derailed. I can't think of his name right now. And I've been to see him twice. Anyway, the bunch of us had gone to this concert, and we weren't all sitting together, but we were messaging between each other. And we did a bunch of, I didn't have Court of Atonement then, but we just did some prayer intentions, some positive dowsing, and set the intention for the evening to be like a good benefit for everybody. And that concert was absolutely just such a high vibration, so much fun, and just everybody came out of there like, wow, what an experience, right? So that's some of the things you can do. So yeah, setting positive intentions and the Court of Atonement. So I've mentioned Court of Atonement several times. If you're not familiar with that, which I think everybody here is, but for the benefit of anybody else that's going to be listening to this, Court of Atonement, in my description, Amy Jo has a way of her elevator speech of Court of Atonement. The way that I like to explain it to new people and to clients or potential people who are interested in Court of Atonement is that it is a spiritual sanctuary where souls go to resolve their differences. And a more layman's terms explanation of that is me and my best friend have been friends for a long time. We're human. At some point, somebody's going to say something, somebody's feelings are going to get hurt, and might not want to be friends anymore. With the Court of Atonement, it respects free will. So I don't need to tell my friend what I am going to do with Court of Atonement. I'm just setting a prayer intention, spiritual intention. Somebody is saying something. Johnny Reed, there we go. Johnny Reed was the one. Somebody just put that in the chat there. Yes, it was Johnny Reed. It was amazing. Okay, so back to Court of Atonement. It respects free will, and so I don't have to tell my friend what I'm doing. I just place myself, Jack Ryu, place me and my best friend into a full Court of Atonement for the purpose of soul recognition and for the purpose of analyzing our timelines and resolving the conflicts between us. So what happens on a soul level is that that's where you do your mudslinging. That's what I call it. You come up into, your souls go into the spiritual sanctuary, and it is like a spiritual court. It's literally a spiritual court. And so you go into the spiritual court, both your souls, and there's two scenarios of what can happen. Like our souls want to resolve things. We are a human, we are a spirit, a soul in a human meat sack. We're on earth to, learn to get along, have our life lessons. Because on the soul level, they don't have those human emotions that everybody gets tangled all up in. And so that's a good space to resolve things. And so in the spiritual court, two scenarios can happen. Your best friend comes in, I don't want to deal with this, I'm out of here. And so your friend can leave. That's their free will. But me, I still want to resolve things. And so that energy will shift in me. And so in that case, maybe it's resolved somehow and there's not so much hard feelings. And my friend can leave and uh, things are just resolved that way. And maybe the friendship just falls away, and that does happen. Um, but maybe that friendship is worthwhile to you, and you want to resolve things. And so what can happen is your best friend can say, "Yeah, you said things," or I can say, you said things, and you hurt my feelings, and I'm really hurt. I want to resolve this." And your friend can say, "I'm sorry. I know I said some things that were wrong that day. My teddy bear died. I was not in a good space. Things happened." And then I can say, "Well, I didn't realize that your teddy bear died. And of course you would be feeling that way. And now I understand why you said those hurtful things. You weren't really in the right space for that." And so that's our little way of resolving it. So now that energy that has been resolved on that soul level comes down to our human bodies, and we just start getting along again. And so this is what can happen with Court of Atonement. And I've often said too, not even just the community of focusing on an area. Um, we've got a Third Avenue here in Prince George that, there's a lot of downtown shopping and stuff, but that's also where some of the outreach offices are. And you can go down Third Avenue, and some people can be out in public and not getting along. Well, we'll just leave it at that. They're not getting along, and it's quite obvious. And so I can be in my truck driving down, and I don't have to get out of my vehicle or go over and try to break up whatever's going on. I can just be over here, and I say that person and that person. I don't even know who they are, but those two people, I place them into a full court of atonement for the purpose of soul recognition, for the purpose of analyzing their timelines and resolving what's going on with them. And I can drive away, and I've done something. I've shifted energy somehow. How that plays out, I never know, but I can feel that I've done something at least. And so, yeah, pulling up a map. So what I did with those two areas, those two encampments, I'm going to set the intention that as I am showing you what I did for those areas, using Court of Atonement and also just intentions. Raymond Grace, I've referenced him a few times already too. Raymond Grace, he is quite well known in the dowsing circles. I got to go to a training with him a couple of years ago. Now, I love his attitude. And again, something about permissions. Raymond Grace has got, if you go into practitioner forums, there's a lot of things about permissions. And in my professional practice, being a holistic practitioner, I do not work on other people unless they are booking a session with me. Okay. That is a permission thing. I can't, somebody can book in with me and say, "Hey, can you work on, a family member?" And no, I can't. Not unless I have their permission. Okay. But in the case with Raymond Grace, and the idea of community assistance, if someone is being a detriment to society, yes, I will step in and point out that person and attempt to have a conversation energetically with their higher self in asking and requesting that they smarten up. And yeah, it's still sort of asking for a change, but because you are asking their higher self, it's not a direct violation of their free will in asking them to change directly, if that makes sense. But yes, Raymond Grace, he's got some wonderful things. And also, Raymond Grace again, he's got newsletters that go out, and do get onto his newsletter list. He sends out uh, tips of the day, or tips of the month kind of things. He only sends it out once a month. Um, I love how blunt he is, and how um, he's just got simple things, and his attitude, and same as me now, I've adopted his attitude that how do you know you can't change anything if you don't try? And so that's my philosophy as well, that when you're working on a community, an area, um, if you go into my resources, I've got lots of Raymond newsletters in there, and he does have a protocol of what he does to work on schools, to clean up the schools energy. If you've got children or grandchildren in schools, that is a good thing to do. But as for my original intention of working on um, a hospital, a high density population area, uh, Jackie Ryu, placed that area, that intended area, into a full court of atonement for the purpose of soul recognition, restoration of self. We're bringing in all levels of consciousness, God and their guides, and the entirety of their family lineages, and asking for soul recognition, restoration of self, clarity of heart, soul, and mind, home security, location security, optimal medical assistance. A lot of people need that. There's 2 speed calls here. I'm going to blank out a word because I'm not sure how that'll go on YouTube. So resolution and another resolution. Okay. Resolution of unrequited love, resolution of war, resolution of wrath. And there is a speed call, Spiritual 911, that it kind of brings in anything that the person needs. And I use that one lots, but it's the same as calling 911. You don't need a dozen people doing that. Just set the intention that Spiritual 911 is given to those who need it. And Amy Jo sometimes talks about not spiritually bullying people. So yeah, setting the intention that they're given what they need and not more than what they can handle. Traumatic stress resolution, grief recovery resolution. By the way, my pendulum's going like crazy here. And just setting that intention of that this energy is clearing for the people in the intended area that we're choosing for today. Okay. And one of Raymond's terminologies is to clear any and all non-beneficial thought forms. And intending for the area, we can ask for as above, so below. And so cleaning up any and all non-beneficial energies in the location, in the property, in the buildings. The speed calls, home security and location security, do kind of clean that up. But when I'm tuned into an energy, I just let the words come, and that seems to clear things up. So then we're going to ask to analyze timelines. And I often like to throw in soul timelines, to resolve any and all conflicts that anyone has with themselves, because self-care, self-love, self-doubt, clear up those kind of things, because that holds people back. And there are conflicts with others as well. And then we're going to bring in the spirit of peace, Oh, yeah, you'll see my pendulum. Now we're going to go we're going to install some things. So we're going to ask to align with a divine wisdom, divine knowledge, divine justice, divine discernment, divine opportunities. That's going like crazy. I'm going to, since that's clearing, you'll find if you ever work for me, I tend to chatter a little bit while things are clearing. I'll add in here. I worked with someone several years ago, and this person had left a bad situation, and we had done several energy clearing sessions with her. And then it came time that this bad situation, she needed to get official support to go with her to the previous home to collect her belongings. And so she did that, and that all went okay. And she got a hold of me a couple days, just soon after that. And she says, okay, well, we got through that. My lawyer says now I just walk away. And I'm like, you're entitled to something here. Like, no, that's not right. And so I had done some Court of Atonements. And when I did this Court of Atonement with her and clearing some energies, I kept hearing divine opportunities. And so I asked to align with divine opportunities. Well, she called me the next day and she said, we're going to court on Monday. Not like 3 months from now, not anything put off. She's going to court on Monday. It was like a couple days away. And I've been through that myself. And I said, okay, well, I'm here if you need anything. I said, just my advice, keep yourself calm. Let it out anywhere else except in the courtroom. Just keep your calm in there. And so that's what she did. And it was a week after I'd done this Court of Atonement and the energy clearing and asking for divine opportunities that she got a hold of me, and she goes, he made a complete ass of himself in the courtroom, and he lied to the judge, and things swung in my favor. And I just got goosebumps. Like, yeah. So that is a little behind the scenes of an experience at divine opportunities. And my goodness, that is going like crazy. Okay. Is there something else we need to infuse? Yes. Is it a flower essence? Is it a gemstone? A gemstone, there's properties of gemstones, and you can look up the metaphysical things behind it. And so what I'm getting is ocean jasper. And then for a flower essence, so ocean jasper, if you go into my resources, I have several connections with people who sell gemstones. My daughter happens to work at a gemstone store downtown 1 day a week. And so there's all these metaphysical properties of gemstones. And ocean jasper is a lot of things about self-empowerment and getting yourself up there kind of thing. And can't remember the exact things on there, but anyway, that's the gist of it. So we're installing the properties of ocean jasper into the area, the people who are willing to accept that those properties for themselves in their energy fields. And then for a flower essence, we're going to install and infuse rose petals. And rose petals are about self-care and just a lot of good things in taking care of yourself as an empowerment. There we go. Okay, is there anything else that we need to add to clean up an area, clean up the energy of an area? Is there anything blocked? Is there anything missed? And my go-to line is there anything God can see that I can't? No. Okay, so That just another line from Court of Atonement. I ask for amenable dissolution of these energies that we've cleared and restoration of peace. There we go. And so setting the intention that anyone that watches this video, it can focus it on an area or a high density population project, and possibly change some energy there. Anything else to do there? No? Okay. So we're going to stop it again. So bringing up the topic of frequencies, we're talking about that. And I just was mentioning about this energy muse that a client gifted me. This is a 417 hertz. So we were talking about solfeggio and the different, there's a page on my website that explains the different frequencies and what they're for. So an interesting thing is when I had the issues with the neighborhood in my home, I went on YouTube and just pulled up 417 and 432 hertz. 417 and 432, they are frequencies that are supposed to help clear up negative energies. And I would just run them for days on end, just having those frequencies running through my house. There's several channels on YouTube that you can come up and find solfeggio, or just put in HZ, Hertz music, and choose a frequency and music or the sound that you like. There's all sorts of different ones. Some of them can have chants, and some of them have singing bowls and just everything. So choose something that you like. For the situation from 2018, it was about 3 months of me running these frequencies for and intending it to just be around my neighborhood before that energy cleared up next door and those people moved out. But in my opinion, it did help. Now, another thing I'll reference, there's a page on my website called Blessing Your Enemies. And it's a little story that this is when I had that mentor taking me under her wing. And I didn't understand things then. I do understand things now, so that's why I'm bringing it up now. When I was working at the post office, and when I knew this mentor, and I had enough seniority to get into this one position, but I had to wait a couple months before I could take that position, just some things that were shifting around with the staffing and everything. And so I ended up working over the Christmas period under this one supervisor at a very busy station. And I had an early shift, 5 o'clock in the morning, which I'm not good at that. I need to be sleeping about that time. So a lot of things were affecting me. I was a little cranky and everything, but yes, I was working very early, and there was a supervisor who had a reputation for honing in on somebody and having that person as their target, and would make life uncomfortable. And I got to be her target for about 6 weeks. So there was several people in the building with scanners, and she decided that I was the one that was putting in all of the mistakes. And so she had someone else shadow me, being over my shoulder for a while, and she was just being snitty with me. It was not nice. So the point of my life that I was then, I had a not nice name for her. And yeah, it was not a nice name. So I would call her that behind my back. So I'm talking to my mentor, and I said, well, this is going on at work, and my goodness, and this is the name I got for her. And she looked at me, she goes, you don't do that. She said, you just learned Reiki, and you have all this energy healing stuff that you do now. She says, you do not call her a bad name like that. It will come back on you. And she says, you're in that office an hour before she comes in. I want you to go to her office and I want you to Reiki her office and set the vibration in there. 400, uh, she explained to me at that time just 400 uh, vibration above the lowest energy that was in that office. So I did that. I Reiki'd her office and set the intention that the vibration would raise in there. And I went about doing my thing. And about 3 weeks later, my union rep got a hold of me. She knew that I was having some problems, and she messaged me and she says, "Did you hear that the supervisor transferred out? Um, Not out of the office. She transferred out of town." I'm like, did I do that? Yeah. So yeah, setting the vibration and clearing up energy, that's the idea. And so that's another thing with the community idea of these areas. You can set the intention to raise the vibration. And so what that does is someone in those areas that does not want to take accountability, does not want to have their exercising their free will. They don't want to like smarten up and grow, be better. Uh, they will be uncomfortable and they will often leave the area. So yeah, there we go. So how? There we go in there.